Welcome to As the Story Grows. I'm Brian Patton. Today we welcome David Lawrence Osterhout from Bike Roots to the podcast. Bike Roots released Rush of Energy, their new EP, back on October 25th with Blue Grape music. David and I chat about growing up in southern New Jersey and his musical inspirations, transitioning Bike Roots from a solo project to a full band, the album art aesthetics across his discography, life as a musician on social media, and more. Rush of Energy is a fun EP, and I highly recommend giving it a spin if you like indie rock, emo in the vein of like Death Cab for Cutie or, I don't know, Owen. I would give this record a spin. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of As the Story Grows. If you're brand new to the podcast, welcome. Thanks for listening. If you aren't subscribed to the podcast already, I would love it if you subscribed on your podcast platform of choice. And you can find links in our show notes or at asthestorygrows.com to our Discord server, our mailing list, or our Patreon page, where you can get early access to every episode. Enjoy getting to know David from Bike Roots.
Drive away with my heart on the dashboard. Don't you hate when you get what you asked for? It's a necessary sacrifice, but a sacrifice nonetheless. And everyone who saw me in the coming weeks gave me their condolences. You want it.
How you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Good. Glad to have you on.
Yeah.
Are you still in New Jersey?
Yeah, still in New Jersey.
Still right outside Philly?
Yeah.
Was it Evesham?
Yeah, I moved. I'm like 10 minutes away from there now. I'm in Belmar, but I'm still just like right over the bridge,
Okay.
Yeah.
It's funny. I grew up just outside DC.
Okay.
So if you tell people you're from DC, people who live in DC are like, fuck you. No, you're not.
Yeah, exactly. Same.
But I lived in Philadelphia for 6 years.
Yeah.
And so I knew people who like moved out to the burbs in Jersey, and they'd be like, "Oh, I live in Philly," and I'm like, "No, you don't."
Yeah.
And I'm like, I get it. You're just like you're so,
10 minutes away,
Right. It's like I know, but I always appreciated, like, I got why people move to the burbs, but it was like I have to pay to get back to my house. Like,
yeah.
So then you're just like, New
that?
Jersey sucks. I hate it. It's like, I'm never coming to visit you ever again.
Yeah. $5 to get home is.
Yeah. People will be like, it's only a 10-minute drive. I'm like, you used to be a 5-minute walk. Like, and I have to pay? Like, come on.
It's a lose-lose.
Yeah, it's terrible. What was growing up like, though?
It was fine. It was a good time,
Yeah. What got you into music?
Kind of just the local scene, honestly, with like the South Jersey and Philly scene together. I grew up from like the age of like 11 or 12 going to like local shows with my sister. Nice. Just like honestly, like one of the first shows I ever went to was I saw the Wonder Years at like a VFW like way back in the day. So that was kind of like an introduction to everything, I guess.
Yeah. Did the New Jersey suburbs, like those Philly suburbs, have a good scene that was apart from Philadelphia? Because I know, like, I think usually when you think of the Jersey scene, it's more central or north Jersey.
I'd say like honestly there was a lot of shows just like at VFWs in South Jersey too, and like record stores and coffee shops. That's kind of where I found my scene.
Yeah, that's cool. Outside of like the Wonder Years, what were like bands that were inspiring you at the time? Like,
honestly, like growing up, it's funny, I listened to like a lot of like the Wonder Years and Say Anything and whatnot, but then I also listened to a bunch of like Bruce Springsteen because of my dad. So it's kind of like a mishmash of like Springsteen and then like good old fashioned like classic emo and pop punk and hardcore and everything. So kind of a little bit of everything.
Yeah. And that close to Philly, like the Philly scene.
Yeah, exactly.
At least from my time there. And I assume it's been that way for years. It's like a huge, like, I mean, it's a great music scene to be within throwing distance of.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
Yeah. At what point did you start playing guitar or any instrument?
It's funny because I always say like I'm not a musician because I taught myself like guitar and I taught myself how to sing kind of like in high school, I guess. like me and my friends, we would cover songs like in their basement, and like I was like, this is pretty cool, but I didn't know how to play guitar or anything, so I couldn't like take it upon myself to like cover and play songs and write songs. So I kind of just started learning like simple chords, and then just, you know, learning very easy songs to cover and writing songs with just like one chord or two chords and just like singing poorly, and, you know, and then it just kind of progressed to where we are now, I guess.
Yeah. But I think that one, it takes some initiative to be like, all right, I'm going to teach myself.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, like, you have, I think there's some talent in just being able to pick it up and play. Like,
Yeah.
I've tried to teach guitar before, but because it kind of came easily to me,
Yeah.
when people like can't play that G chord, I'm like, what's wrong with you? Like, it's
Yeah,
easy.
I feel you. It is funny now, like doing something like that, like G and C and like chords like that I've played for so long now. Whenever I'm like, just do it like this, like,
Right.
I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot how hard it was at first, you know?
Yeah, for sure. At what point, I mean, you were playing like cover songs and like trying to write your own. Like, at what point were you like trying to form like actual bands to get into those EFW scenes?
So Bike Roots honestly started at first as just like a solo acoustic act that I would do. Like, I'd open like local shows. Every local show in South Jersey needed like an acoustic opener, you know? That was kind of the vibe back in the day. So I would always like open shows or play like coffee shops and stuff. And then honestly, I was in a few other bands in between like the solo acoustic era of Bike Roots and full band Bike Roots now. Like there's other bands and projects in between that, you know, I found, you know, my best friends in the music scene, and they helped me write songs and whatnot. And a lot of them are the people who still help me with like the full band side of Bike Roots. Nice. So it kind of has been a few years in the making to build it up to what it is now.
What was the inspiration for the name of the project?
Honestly, it came from my dad, like a really stupid conversation we had like when we were young, you know, like talking about like funny band names and like cool band names and like how band names like stick with you, I guess. And he was always like, a good band name would be Bike Roots or Bike Routes, because like there's signs all over the country, you know, bike routes, and like he was always like, it's free advertisement. So when I first started like writing acoustic songs and stuff, like back in high school, before I had any dreams or any like idea to like make it an actual serious project, I started putting out songs like on Bandcamp and YouTube under the name Bike Roots. Okay. And then it kind of became like synonymous, I guess, with, you know, I was opening a show, so it was Bike Roots was opening the show. And then throughout the years, like people just like recognized me and would call me Bike Roots in the local scene. So it just kind of stuck as, you know, the final name.
Yeah. It's funny how like often it's like that's a placeholder name for the flyer or whatever. Yeah. And then it's like 20 years later and you're just like, oh, I mean, I'm stuck with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. How has the like evolution of your songwriting and like as a lyricist grown and changed over the years? Because like you're just trying to figure it out at first. Like has your inspiration and approach changed?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me personally, since it started out in a way where I was awful at guitar and awful at singing, I had to focus on the lyrics. So like lyrics have always been kind of at the forefront for me, but now it's kind of like, now that I have all my other things together, you know, I can focus. I feel like I can almost focus even more on the lyrics now because I have even more confidence in like, okay, now I can play a G chord, you know, like I have more confidence in my other abilities that now like lyrics are at even more so the forefront, where I'm like, I feel like I'm more capable of saying exactly what I want to say. Yeah. And exactly how I want to say it, and be able to say it confidently now and like structure it better than just like rambling into a song, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. How'd you get connected with Counterintuitive Records?
They actually hit me up after our first release. We had that Loves in Action, the first record out. I self-released it, and then probably like 6 months after that, Jake, the owner, hit me up and asked if I was interested in doing a vinyl run for it, and I was like, absolutely. So we kind of started working together through that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You then transitioned to this new EP,
Yeah,
Blue Grape music. What was that transition like?
It was great, honestly. It was a dream come true meeting everyone in Blue Grape and Dave Rath, and they were just very excited, and it was really infectious, and they really understood me and the love and the energy and the whole vibe of like Bike Roots and what I don't know. I feel like from like the get-go, like they've just been there and they've understood like, I don't know, the assignment,
Yeah.
that is.
Yeah. EP is called Rush of Energy. Where'd that title come from?
That's actually one of the songs off of the EP, and it was one of the first songs I wrote for the EP. And as we were like writing the other songs and whatnot, it kind of that I feel like encapsulated the vibe of the whole EP, was that it was this new kind of like new era of Bike Roots, new sound, new like energy, new. Everything's new, I guess, in terms of like experiments, like and stuff that we tried on this EP. It's all a little different from prior, excursions.
Yeah. One of the things that's not really new though is the album artwork. There's always been this like photographic outdoor quality to the album artwork. What led you to go with that decision initially, and why is that just kind of stuck as a theme?
I think a big thing for me is growing up in South Jersey. I feel like New Jersey gets a bad rep sometimes because people think of New Jersey and they think of like way North Jersey right over the bridge from New York, where it's just like factories and stuff. But South Jersey, where I grew up in like Marlton and Medford, the Pine Barrens are right there. So like there's just, I don't know, a lot of woods. I grew up just like in the woods. So like I spent a lot of time as a kid just like running around in the woods. So I don't know. I think I just have, I love nature and hiking and whatnot. And I always felt like, I don't know, as like a musician in Bike Roots, I always connected that to the woods and like nature as well. So I think that's something that I've always wanted to translate, maybe not sonically, but like visually to Bike Roots. And so that's why I think I always like get drawn to that.
Yeah. Did the aesthetic was it initially born out of just like you're releasing songs on your own on Bandcamp or YouTube, and so like you're just creating your own artwork as like a poor musician?
Yeah, kind of. That's what started. Like the very first things were just like cool pictures I took, and I was like, okay, this is it,
Yeah.
But moving forward, I think now there's definitely more of like a artistic approach to it, but still just like hey, let's go take some pictures and see what happens,
Yeah. What was the inspiration for this photograph? I assume, is that you in a field? Yeah.
Honestly, it was, it kind of, not to be like, it came to me, but it kind of did. I was just like, I thought, honestly, I was like thinking about cool, just like concepts for even like a future release. And that was one of them that came to me. And I was like, why don't I just like, why does that have to be for like a future release? Why couldn't that be the Rush of Energy album?
Yeah.
And like, as we were like experimenting with it and playing around with it, it kind of just like found a place where I was like, oh yeah, this is, this should be the album art.
Nice. You talk about the importance of the lyrics. What were the kind of themes you were exploring when writing this record?
This one, I'd say like a lot of just like existential dread, I guess, but like in the like everyday way where it's like, I'm going to work. Everything I'm doing, like, why am I doing it? Is this what I want to be doing? I guess, and just like that overall everyday, like everyone struggles with, just like, we're on a floating rock.
Right.
What's going on?
Yeah. Was there a process kind of through like lockdown and the, heart of the pandemic where it was like either difficult to write or like difficult to write about things that weren't like the world is on fire?
Yeah, absolutely. I think is, your brain, or at least my brain at that time, I was just like, I don't know what's gonna like what the world is gonna look like after this,
Yeah.
or like whatnot. So it was kind of hard to be like, oh, I'm sad when the world is like on fire, you know, like I don't know, you know, it was just a weird time, I think, mentally for everyone, you know, just like sitting in your room for 12 hours a day and then going to bed and then doing it again.
Yeah. As kind of a small indie artist, are you like spending a lot of your time on the social media side of your band, working on like TikToks and shit like that?
Yeah, I definitely am. And I always like talk to my friends. I'm like, I'm sorry, because like especially TikTok, I feel like is like it's so weird where it's like you'll post a video that you work really, really hard on and it'll get like 10 likes, but then like I'll post a video of me standing there with my song playing and it'll get like 500 likes, and I'm like, that's the one I took like 10 seconds to make, and the one that like I took like 2 days to make, it gets like 2 likes, you know? So it is something that like I try to be like cognizant of, and like I think that is like an important part, especially being like an indie artist now, is like really like feeding the algorithm like to see what sticks. So it can be like punishing, I guess, to just be like post the same thing every day, or like post, you know, I don't know. I always apologize to my friends. I'm like, I'm sorry you're seeing my face a lot on social media, but we're trying.
Are there conversations, you're the first person I've ever asked this question of, it just came to me. Are there conversations either you're having as like a group that is Bike Roots or with the label about the possibility of like a post social media world? Like, I mean, it seems like the algorithms have fucked everything up.
Yeah.
You know, Twitter's a disaster. Facebook is old people. TikTok might get banned any day now, right? Yeah. Is there just like, okay, like, are you thinking about that, or is it all just like in the moment? What are we doing right now?
I guess for me, it's like a lot of like in the moment, right? Now, like take advantage of it while you can, as it's there, you know. But I think, especially for like me and like at least our scene, I feel like growing up, like I feel like prior to such heavy social media, the scene was still equally as strong as it is now. So I feel like at least like the scene, like the Philly, the tri-state area scene, I feel like we'd be fine, you know, in a post-social media world, you know, because it's still, I don't know, it was that way before. So I feel like, you know, I can maintain.
It's interesting because I'm not on any social media platforms outside of like Substack and Discord. So it's like interesting to see the groups that I run in that are like people who are already like, we're done with social media and just like Spotify's shitty and all that. And just like, it's like, we're probably the minority. It's like, it probably looks like a bigger movement to kill this thing than it really is, right? Because like, the mainstream, they're just going to Spotify to listen to Taylor. But
exactly.
EP's out October. What's the rest of this year and like the future plans for the project?
So the EP comes out in October, and then we play a few shows in November. We're opening for Aaron West in the Roaring 20s in Philly at City Winery in like the middle of November.
Okay.
And then honestly, early next year, like January, February, we have a full US tour lined up that we're super stoked for. And then we have a few more tours in the works for the rest of next year. But for the remainder of 2024, I think it's just like really focus on this release and, you know, do a release show probably and kind of ramp up for like some tours in 2025.
Yeah. Is the focus on an EP like this trying to promote it beforehand, or is there just like you do the promotion before, but then like you have plans post-release, like their videos afterwards? Or whatever, right?
I think it's easier sometimes for like post-release to be like, because then the songs are out, you know, and people can go right to them, and like, you know, there's no like not to, I don't think there's enough warranted like hype behind Bike Roots yet, you know, for people to be like, oh my god, the EP's coming out. So it's easier for people to be like, we don't know who that is. So if we want to go listen to him, we can go listen to that song right now, as opposed to like, they're not going to wait 2 weeks to go listen to it if they hear like a 15-second snippet of it now,
Right.
So I think that's a big thing for us.
Yeah. Every label and group has their own like structure to it, right? Some people, it's like the year before an album comes out, you're dropping a single every day. By the time the album comes out, everybody's heard it already. And I'm just like, I don't know, is it special? By that point, once the album drops, you're like, all right, fuck it, on to the next thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's a big thing for the EP too, is like to like maybe start warranting hype with an EP, so that when we put out like an album, maybe it's more like, okay, now we can like properly be like, a month ahead of time, 2 months ahead of time, 3 months ahead of time,
Yeah. Has there been a struggle in booking that tour for 2025? I know like post-COVID, the small venue is decimated. Like, is that tough, or is it just like trying to get on the bill for those bigger venues?
It was kind of more so like trying to get like on a bill and whatnot. We have one of my best friends is also our agent, and she does like great work for us, and so she kind of was able to get us onto a tour for 2025.
Nice.
That, like, so it wasn't, because we've done like a few DIY tours of like booking our own, and those can be like, especially after COVID, it can be like hit or miss trying to like get the smaller venues. But
that you start to cry, the man at attention just to